Several Jewish organizations are condemning members of parliament for honoring a man who served in a voluntary Nazi unit during the Second World War. That happened Friday after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed Parliament. Speaker Anthony Rota introduced 98-year-old Yaroslav Hunka as a war hero who fought for the 1st Ukrainian Division, which was a voluntary unit under the command of the Nazis. House Speaker Anthony Rota has released a statement that reads in part, quote, "I wish to make clear that no one, including fellow parliamentarians and the Ukraine delegation, was aware of my intention or of my remarks before I delivered them. This initiative was entirely my own. I particularly want to extend my deepest apologies to Jewish communities in Canada and around the world. I accept full responsibility for my actions." Now, we're joined now by University of Ottawa Political Science Department Professor Yvonne Kachanovsky. Thanks so much for joining us here live on CP24. When you heard this realization by everybody, what was your reaction to it?
Thank you for the invitation. When I saw this, for me, this was unbelievable to witness a veteran of SS, Waffen-SS division from Galicia in Western Ukraine giving standing ovation in the Canadian Parliament. And because I research this division, I research atrocities committed by members of this division, and also there is a personal connection because one unit which later joined this division executed about 100 Jews and also Ukrainians and Poles in my high school in Western Ukraine near Lutsk. So, and this was published in the United States several years ago by Associated Press. So I think this was quite unbelievable to witness this event. And I tweeted about this, like this was like Orwell or quite unbelievable from any perspective. And I think this is now a major story, not only in Canada, but also in many other countries around the world.
How is this possible that this cannot be research? Like you yourself, you say you obviously have a personal connection to this, and it didn't take long for a lot of people to just figure this out. So how could any excuse that no one knew this, how is that possible?
I think this is a question which I asked because it was quite obvious or quite indicative when the Speaker of the Parliament announced that this is a veteran of the 1st Ukrainian Division who was fighting against the Russians during World War II. And in Ukraine, during World War II, it was obvious that there is only formation which was fighting against the Soviet Union was actually Nazi or allies of Nazis. And in this case, I think for me, this is still kind of quite astonishing to witness this. And the question is, if anybody actually knew in advance who was this person associated with and why he was introduced in the Parliament and given standing ovation, and especially because also not only Canadian government, not only Canadian Parliament members, but also President of Ukraine gave standing ovation, and this is very important for Ukraine and Ukrainians because of the current Russian invasion of Ukraine, and since Russia uses the false claims that Ukraine is a Nazi state to justify its invasion. So this has very significant consequences, not only in Canada, but also in Ukraine because of the war in Ukraine.
Right. You were saying the consequences, you say how Russia could somehow flip this to their advantage. Are there other countries talking about this as well, and what has their reaction been?
Yes, I think in Poland there is also a big reaction, and there are media publications about this story. And Canadian ambassador to Poland tweeted his request for apology from the Canadian and Ukrainian leaders for this standing ovation in the Canadian Parliament to a veteran of SS Galicia division, because this division or members of this division were involved in the massacre of almost 1,000 Polish civilians in a village of Huta Peniacka in Galicia region of Ukraine. And also, according to my research and according to a variety of documents, another unit of this division, which later joined this division, was actually also involved in massacre of Poles schools in several villages in Volhynia region of Ukraine and in Poland. And so this is also very important for such a perspective. But in addition to this, I saw media reports in many countries of the world, including Switzerland, Germany, and Hungary, and again, and even countries like India. This is, I think, became a major story and with major repercussions, and especially because of relations between Ukraine and Poland now in conflict because of grain. So this is, I think, also very important to deal with such implications of this quite unbelievable event which took place in the Canadian Parliament.
Absolutely. All right, making international headlines for all the wrong reasons. Professor Kaczynowski, thanks so much for joining us here live on CP24.